If young people are to join and then remain in the Army's cadet forces, the quality of the instruction they receive must be of the highest standard. Cadets are bombarded with distractions in everyday life. Therefore, to keep them engaged, the cadet experience must be fun, interesting and rewarding. A good instructor is one who creates the right conditions for learning and finds ways to inspire and motivate cadets. The success of each lesson depends on their dedication, imagination and approach.
Fieldcraft is an activity which all cadets enjoy and is a great subject for SCIC qualified cadets to teach while developing their instruction ability. Fieldcraft lessons often take time to organise and resource. However, what this video will show you is that you can achieve your aim with minimal kit and a bit of imagination.
After watching this video, you will be aware of the mechanics of how to prepare, then deliver a high quality lesson, and will be equipped with a framework which can be applied to other subjects with the same success. This knowledge will help you in the preparation of your SCIC lessons, and through growing confidence in your own ability, you will develop as an instructor, therefore becoming even more of an asset to your cadet unit. Rather than just showing you a lesson, this presentation will follow the 5 stages of effective instruction and give you a behind-the-scenes look at how training is prepared. Within your detachment, you will need to ensure you are teaching the right lessons to the right people. To identify the need, we need to answer some key questions. What subject material needs to be covered? For the purpose of this video, the task is to deliver the duties of the Sentry lesson. What stage in the training are the students at? We know that this is a basic lesson, so it must be delivered in a way that is understandable to all. What gaps are in the knowledge? We won't know this until we meet our students. However, don't discount the fact that cadets may have missed previous training. This is something you may have the chance to ask about while planning the lesson. Who are we training? This information will have implications regarding the maturity of the group and how much information they can be expected to take in, as well as flag up any potential discipline issues that may impact on the delivery. How competent are the students? It's especially important to get this right in advanced lessons. However, this is taught in the basic or 1-star syllabus, so we must assume no knowledge. Why are we teaching this lesson? It's important to know why you've been asked to teach a lesson. If it's a simple back pocket lesson for a range day, although you still need to prepare it properly, it may not take as long as for a lesson that's part of your preparation for a test or competition. Now we've identified the need, we can get on with the important task of planning and preparation. Prior planning and preparation prevents poor performance is an old saying that is still as relevant today as the day it was first uttered, probably by an unfortunate soldier whose chain of command had failed to take the advice. The following steps should be followed to plan and prepare a high quality lesson. Consider the audience. Set a clear aim or objective. Plan the lesson, including assessment of the students. Prepare the lesson. We will now look at each in detail. We've touched on how we consider the audience during stage 1. However, now we need to look at other factors, such as their age, therefore maturity, how many there are, what do they need or want to get from the lesson, what can they do already. There are lots more factors which are listed in paragraph 18 of the CFIT handbook. When preparing to teach cadets in your detachment, ask for advice if unsure how to deal with certain characters or characteristics. Before doing any planning or preparation, you must be clear in your mind what it is you want the cadets to achieve in the lesson. To do this, ensure you have a simple, clear, measurable and achievable aim or objective, which is based on what each of the cadets will have achieved at the end of the lesson. The aim, also known as the objective, can be found in the relevant pamphlet and on the learning specification, or LSpec, sometimes also known as the iSpec. This is a document which contains a huge amount of information, such as how long the lesson should be and what resources are required. LSpecs can be found in the Cadet Resource Centre in the Cadet Training tab, and pamphlets can be downloaded from Westminster. You can ask CFAS to supply these. The objectives shown on the LSpec for this lesson are listed as shown. It is important to put them across in a way which the cadets will understand and include the reason why the cadet should learn the subject, as well as an incentive to do well. The aim for this lesson might sound something like this. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to take over or establish a sentry post. You will understand the role and responsibilities of a sentry, including the equipment you'll need, and how to conduct the challenge procedure, including the actions on. This will ensure that whilst conducting sentry duty on exercise, you'll be able to provide security to your harbour area and prevent the enemy from catching your fellow cadets unprepared. The next step will result in the production of the lesson plan, a template for which can be found at Annex A of the CFIT manual. To plan the lesson, we will need to confirm the content, and this is best done by getting the information straight into the relevant areas in a draft format. How you fill it out is optional, however getting the aim and the main body onto your lesson plan first is advisable, as the rest of the information will come as you examine the LSpec. You may notice that the lesson plan is broken into columns. These are useful when planning your timings and opportunities for feedback from the students, or just reminders to jog your memory during rehearsals. The summary should state what the students have learned during the lesson and give reminders of what was discussed. At no time should the summary include new information that was not taught in the lesson. The summary links into the look forward, which for this lesson, although separated on the lesson plan, could look something like this. Planning the use of effective delivery methods will ensure you maintain the cadet's interest in the subject being taught. A good combination of methods will enhance the subject matter and maintain the student's interest. By the time we have taught the duties of a sentry and the equipment required, we will have used explanation by the instructor, confirmation by effective questioning, and group discussion. While teaching the stag list, you can explain then demonstrate how it's completed, with the cadets imitating on their own before completing one as practice. The main EDIP phase comes later, when teaching the challenge procedure. With the main body complete, the rest of the lesson plan is now completed by considering the remainder of the planning factors. Although you may not need assistance to teach a lesson, the right person watching could give you valuable feedback regarding your delivery. And finally, the methods you will use to conduct assessment, remembering that this will have taken place throughout the lesson, with final confirmation tying it all together, and evaluation, which should take place as soon as possible, are to be considered. The planning phase of the process is now complete. To ensure success, you must spend time in the preparation of your lessons. This should include ensuring your own knowledge and skills are comprehensive, up to date, and rehearsed. Check you have all instructional materials or training aids that you need and that they're up to date and fully serviceable. If you are using PowerPoint slides, check the slides work on the computer and the presentation displays effectively through the projector you're using by rehearsing the whole presentation. Prepare the training environment, ensure it is correctly risk assessed and safe before use. Rehearse any action safety plans that you may have in place to mitigate risks. Finally, ensure there are no distractions that will affect your lesson, including your own mannerisms, which can be trained out through rigorous and thorough rehearsals. More detail regarding the preparation phase can be found at paragraph 21 of the CFIT manual. Now our preparation is complete. After full rehearsals, we are ready to deliver the lesson. You should seek the support of other instructors, especially when rehearsing new lessons. This will allow you to identify and coach out bad habits before they have an impact on your lesson. If you rehearse every lesson fully before each delivery, your ability as an instructor will develop quickly. If we get the start of the lesson right, the rest will follow, and it is for this reason we cover preliminaries, or prelims, as part of the introductory phase, so we can set the conditions for success. The headings of the introduction can be remembered by using the mnemonic priors, which is what the headings in the CFIT lesson plan spell. Knowing what each letter stands for will help with the sequence. Another way to remember the prelims is the mnemonic CNN Fari. This can be broken down as follows. Check it to ensure students have all the equipment necessary for the lesson. If they don't, solve the problem straight away rather than stopping mid-flow later. During fieldcraft lessons, checking the cadets have got waterproofs in case of bad weather is as important as having the equipment needed to practice their skill. Remember that for fieldcraft lessons, there may be a requirement for a med pack and stretcher. You would need to discuss this with your staff. Numbering off is used as an energizer to make sure the students are alert, but it's most useful if the lesson has a teamwork aspect, as we will have in this lesson. Normal safety precautions are to be carried out if you're using weapons. You will need an adult to do these for you. Cadets may need to change locations or formations to observe the lesson. They should be briefed here to make the lesson run smoother. Anything else covers miscellaneous points such as locations, do's and don'ts, note-taking and question policy, and anything else to get the lessons and the students ready for the lesson. If you're fortunate enough to be teaching this lesson while you have blank rounds available, you could ask an adult to load your students at this point. Revision is a great way to get the students' minds working and is conducted here just before launching into the introduction. The introduction itself may consist of a short scene-setting story or a fact related to the subject. It will always include the aim and the reason why the subject is important, along with an incentive which will promote the desire to learn within the students. Let's see how the mnemonic CNN FARI helps us to introduce our fieldcraft lesson.
Good morning, I'm Sergeant Kilbride and welcome to Fieldcraft lesson number 10, which is duties of a sentry. Before we start that, let's check our equipment. Let's make sure we've all got a weapon, 2 magazines, with a day sack between 2, with Gore-Tex and some warm kit inside. Sure. Good. Okay, now I'm now going to number you off. Okay, so in squads of 2, from the left, number 1, 2. Good. Now, let's carry out our NSPs. Weapon point in safe direction, which is this way. For inspection, port arms. The formations we use today will be a semicircle. When I ask you to form a semicircle, do that for me. Today we're using DP weapons, there is no requirement to load. Does anybody have any pre-existing medical conditions I should know about? No. No? Good. Right, let's now look at the revision. Think back to your lessons last week when we covered why things are seen. When I point to you, give me a reason why things are seen in the field.
Movement.
Good, well done. During the Second World War and in the jungles of Vietnam, enemy troops would often latch onto the back of patrols and therefore infiltrate the position. The British Army brought in a challenger procedure in order to prevent this happening. To that end, by the end of today's lesson, you will know how to sight a sentry, what equipment is required, the duties of a sentry and the challenging procedure. When we get this right, it means we can protect our troops, we can do administration, our rest and our sleep in relative safety.
The CFIT Handbook lists lots of techniques and information for delivering effective lessons. However, embodying the mnemonic craved gives any instructor a firm base of characteristics on which to develop. Confidence in ability and subject matter will inspire the audience to learn. Rapport with your audience will create a positive environment. Use humour sparingly for it to be effective. Attitude is important when delivering information. If you make it sound interesting and important, you will hold the attention of your audience. Variety breaks up difficult subject matter and increases the use of the senses. And enthusiasm for the subject will be infectious. Distractions such as mannerisms are harder to spot than classics such as noisy workers or open windows. Ask a fellow instructor to give you constructive feedback if this is something you're aware of. The delivery of factual information should be in short bursts, with regular confirmation by questions allowing for class feedback. The onset of restrictions has led to an increase in online learning, and the use of polls and the chat box are great ways to ensure maximum activity whilst delivering dry subject matter. More traditionally, the 4 Ps method has become the favourite with instructors. Posing the question, pausing allowing all to think before picking a student to give an answer. The final P could be praise for a correct answer or positive encouragement before passing the question on to another student in the case of a wrong answer. When teaching face-to-face, masking movement is a skill which can be learned with practice. Telling the group to write things down is a simple method of getting the class to look away while you move freely. Rules such as reveal, teach, remove, or display, discuss, discard are useful when showing multiple training aids within lessons. The use of EDIP is a cornerstone of instruction within the cadet forces, and indeed the military. The breaking down of complex drills into smaller chunks, then gradually joining them together through repetition, is a proven technique. When using this, we explain the actions, then demonstrate them before the students imitate, then repeat through controlled practice, which they are taught through with 100% control, decreasing through 50% until finally they're able to complete the activity without reminders. Whilst teaching fieldcraft, EDIP can be adapted. You'll notice in the video that the process of challenge procedure is broken into two main parts.
Duties of a Sentry is taught in two parts. There is a theory side and there's a practical side, each lesson being approximately 40 minutes. Let's look at some of the equipment now that we need to carry out the duties of a Sentry. Notepad and something to write with, to take notes. A map and a compass. A range card. A set of binoculars to observe the enemy activity and to your front. And comms cord in order to alert the section silently if someone approaches the position. Okay, let's look at the map and compass, yeah? We know where we'll relate to where we are on the ground. We'll then use the compass to get bearings out to buildings, trees or prominent objects, okay, so we can identify them and identify the range. This is then put onto the range card itself, so the next person coming on stag can actually see the distances, the buildings has to observe or anything prominent. The binoculars used, okay, in conjunction with your weapon sight to observe the enemy to your front, and here again the comms cord. The comms cord will fit it to a stick, will run all the way back to the platoon commander. If the enemy come and the section need to be alerted, I will pull in the comms cord. We're now in the second phase. I'm now in my Sentry position and we're going to talk about the challenging procedure. The platoon and the company will have a password. For example, the word snow. This is broken into two parts using the phonetic alphabet. Sierra November, Oscar Whiskey. The Sentry will always give the first part of the challenge when he stops troops who have approached the position. I would normally have a demo man, but for today I've got to do it all on my own. Now look in for a demonstration of the first part of the challenge procedure. Someone is now approaching my position. I've been observing and I see someone coming. I wait till the person gets within a short bound from me. Halt! The soldier has now halted, followed my instruction, and he's taken a knee. On the prearranged signal, the soldier has put his left hand out. Advance one and be recognised. Halt. I will now issue the first part of the challenge. Sierra November.
Oscar Whiskey.
Advance. The section commander now comes forward to my position. He moves my arc of fire. He then tells me how many men are in each section, and that concludes the first part. You've now seen a demonstration of the challenge procedure. Now I want you to break off in your teams and practice that. You can make up your own password, as long as it includes 4 letters. For example, COLA. Charlie Oscar Lima Alpha. Break off now and go and practice that in your pairs. That's the first part of the lesson complete now. We've explained, we've demonstrated, the students have imitated, and we've had a practice. In the second part of the lesson, we'll discuss the actions on how the section commander accounts for his section, and what to do if we fear there is someone in the section who's not been identified or there's been enemy follow-up. So using the theory and the practice, we'll bring all that together for a final confirmation.
Whilst we've been carrying out assessment in small chunks throughout the lesson, it is during the end of lesson drills, through final questions and practice, that we must assess the effectiveness of our instruction. If many students fail to comprehend the same aspect of the lesson, the instructor will know they have not delivered the subject matter adequately. Questions from and to the group offer the chance to confirm knowledge-based learning, while the final practice which could be in the form of a competition to create excitement, shows how well skills have been learned. Kit is then to be packed away as required, and if necessary, NSPs are to be carried out. A summary of what students have learned should be delivered, linking back to the original aim, and finally, you should give the students a look forward to the next lesson on the same subject. As soon as possible after the lesson is finished, you should conduct evaluation. Ask yourself, did you achieve your objectives? If not, what do you need to do to make improvements? What aspects went well? What could be improved even more? You can identify the answers through informal questioning of the students, using the results of your assessment of learning, running through the lesson in your head, or asking any assistance for constructive feedback. There are more ideas in paragraph 30 of the CFIT handbook. You have now seen what is required in order to follow the 5 stages of effective instruction, and hopefully you feel enlightened, enthused, and ready to begin preparing your own instructional period. Remember, if in doubt, read the handbook and your notes, then ask for help.